What's up, Digidestins? This is Kyle D, better known as RideMyAvatar, and today we're going to be using Eggman events to go over the last two major events we had in the last week, as I would say, more or less. Yeah, more or less. But in the last couple weeks, actually, because... Oh, yep, it would be the last couple weeks. Sorry, I'm rambling. But without further ado, let's talk about it. And we also have... I'm going to use the Tax Online Oceanic. I'm going to use the whatchamacallit from the Texas Regional. And then I'm going to use Eagle X's game data for EX07 because the other two were like 17.5, BT17. So with the restrictions in place. So without further ado, let's dive in the video and talk about it. So first off, yeah, the TAC Games Oceanic Online Regionals. This had Imperial Dramon, Mirage, Magna X, 7 Great Demon Lords, Mirage X, Magna X, Omniamon Ace, Ancient Grewmon, Leviamon X, Imperial Dramon, Ancient Grew, Levia X, Fenry Luga, 7 Great Demon Lords, Imperial Dramon, and Mirage. It looks like Leviamon X is actually starting to tick up in competitive play, and that's no surprise. A lot of the decks that it was bad into are no longer in the meta, and that's really helpful. I mean, when you had both Magnamon X Antibody be like the dominant big boy, and then your following right behind it was Numemon on top of it, Leviamon had the hardest time keeping up with, you know, the Numemon deck and keeping up with controlling Magna X because of those protection skills that happened and came online so quickly. Your opponent just never saw a shot at it. So with this new format coming in, Leviamon X has started to see a good tick up even in multiple formats, and it's really good to see that because Leviamon X is actually still a really solid deck. It has some bad matchups, but if you can avoid them or get a good solid footing, you're in a good spot no matter what happens. So keeping this in mind, especially because one of the best decks in the format is Imperial Dramon, you can answer what are they doing under Biting Crush, that if they play something with an effect, you're instantly going to kill the rookie and the other body, and now they're kind of screwed. So just keeping this in mind that you could almost clear their board depending on how many of them they play out is going to be really a game changer against them. So keeping this in mind, let's go into the next thing we're going to talk about. Taking a look, the first place Imperial Dramon list is really just a simplistic OTK style. You know, you are playing 4 of the XVmon with the 4 Stigmon, and then you are playing 2 of the starter deck Imperial Dramon to OTK them. If this goes off, your opponent has a bad time. One thing you need to realize at this point is that this is the consistency deck version. So keeping this in mind when we are deciding and meta defining is that, one, you need the Stigmon and XVmon to really just combo off and keep it your turn and just keep killing your opponent rapidly because you're just going to gain all the memory back. If your opponent has anything that is a Madoki Betamon or Chumon, any of those cards literally hurts this engine a lot because it relies so heavily on those two to go off that if they don't see them, they're actually could pass turn, and then you're gonna get the answer back. That is why Numemon actually had a really good solid matchup into this deck, because if they can get down their Chumon out before they could just do their whole shenanigans and having an Emperor live, they're basically not gonna do crazy much because, again, they're going to have to wait resources to do it, and one Davison Ken's not going to be enough to pass the turn back to them, usually without the XVmon and Stigmon combo. So being able to get that turn back is what's mainly necessity for this deck. So just keep this in mind. And then we have Mirage. Mirage hasn't really changed much. As you kind of know, this deck focuses on using, you know, Mirage to hold the fort while the opponent is trying to do stuff. because you're just gonna bounce something to their hand. I think the deck should have went by now. Just having this deck exist this long is gonna be an annoyance factor, but all in all though, taking a look though, I'm not gonna complain too much here. Then we do have blue armor Magna X antibody. So if you guys don't know, the deck still focuses on being able to cheat into your, you know, big boy here and basically have your protections live, because what's going to help is your Flame Digimon with the raid. So as long as when this Digimon attack targets switch, your opponent adds the top card of the security stack, which procs this, and you use cards that aren't in use Blinding Ray to kind of proc him early as well. So just keeping this in mind that the deck has a lot of good benefits in itself. I like the Final Zubergon Punch because it lets you OTK here. Kongu to slow down your opponent. You know, Heaven's Judgment is annoying to deal with, and you know, the one-up Awakening of the Golden Knight. I love the Sora Joe tech, just the slow down. The Sora Stripping is really powerful. Then we do have 7 Great Demon Lords, showing that actually the deck still has legs to stand on. This deck hasn't really disappeared from the format. It still comes in and pops in and out whenever it wants. But with the new Shoto coming in, I expect this deck to actually show more results coming in the future. Then we do have Takamazuchi. Takamazuchi, just basically OTK King. If you can get this to combo off and your opponent is not ready and you've milled them, you've gotten all your pieces into the trash and you clear out security, if they have no way of coming back, they're going to be in a bad spot. What's very interesting in this list, I get the Baumon tech. I figured you would play the other Baumon because discarding from hand to just climb up just freely is what you kind of want to do, because it doesn't matter if you give them 10, you're going to reset to 3 once you're at Takamazuchi. So that's just me. I get the Baumon tech just because the IG is going to go under and then you're going to combo off, but I don't know. I get grabbing the Doru Gray just to force the attack kind of shit synergy here, but you could easily do that with the other egg. That's just my opinion. I think the other egg is stronger for this list instead of this Baumon, but that's just me. And then we got the top 16 from the Texas Digifest. So we have Dexteruga, Imperial, Shine Greymon, Ancient, Yellow Vaccine, Levia, Yellow Vaccine Armor, Omnimon DNA, Levia, Magna X, Magna H, Ancient Guru, Imperial Digimon, Shine Greymon, Fenry Luga. We will probably have to double check back into that, but let's take a look though. If you take a look, it is the black base that's very similar to Ben's list. Very much similar ratios. If you take a look, you know, this is just replaced with the Doru, and that's not a bad tech. I mean, all this is a really solid linear deck. The Mega Gargomon Ace is a very solid tech against Imperial Digimon, and at the end of the day, the list is really clean, to be honest with you. There's nothing to really cry home about that this list isn't bad. It's actually really solid. Then you have Imperial Digimon. This is the same thing. If we zoom in, you know, the consistency engine is just here. You know it, you love it, you hate it. But I love the Mega Gargomon Ace tech to help mitigate this combo. You know, this being able to blast Ace on top of your Pyildra is really useful. Then we have Shine Greymon. Shine Greymon doing actually pretty Shine Greymon things. So if you guys don't know, the deck is very powerful. It hasn't gone anywhere, and I think even just teching the Valkyriemon Ace is a really nice tech, because now you have at least 2 aces. If you're stuck on your level 5, you can make your opponent have a bad time with a Valkyrie Ace. Valkyrie Ace is just that powerful of a card sometimes, and it can slow down wide board shenanigans that you just might need. So keeping that in mind with Valkyrie Ace, just be prepared for it. Your opponent might not be ready, but having Shine Greymon Burst Mode Ace is very powerful. I'm surprised there is no Ruin Mode in this list, because Ruin Mode really shits on most players' parades, especially bad Imperial Digimon players that walk into Ruin Mode, because if you can shut them down for a couple turns, your Marcuses are going to punch through them really well, and they can't do much under a Ruin Mode sometimes. Then you have Ancient Ancient Greymon. So taking this into account with Ancient Greymon, you have the Takuyas and everything like that. The deck is really solid. I really want to see what the upgrade looks like once we get to the next at the end of the video. But taking a look here, we're really solid all around did here. Ancient Greymon just wants to OTK punch, you know, following with the Agunimon into Burning Gray into Aguni to warp into Ancient Greymon is always a great power play. It applies a lot of pressure, especially because it recycles its pieces, and then boom, your opponent has a bad time. Any deletion protection, this deck has a little bit of a trouble getting through. Then you do have the Digimon deck, which is kind of surprising to see this deck actually do quite well coming into the format, especially with TK getting hit. The deck is pretty solid. Digimon does want to do things, and with Cherubimon Ace and Ophanimon Ace being backbone pieces to Digimon, your opponent can have a bad time, especially with 2 Ruin Mode live. I love the Angelomon Ace. This is exactly what you kind of needed to do to answer the bigger problem, which this deck faces one major problem in my opinion, and that is Magnet X antibody. If they can't remove it, they're gonna have a bad time. So stuff like this is vitally important. The biggest problem I do see besides Magna is the fact that you're going to be dealing with like Dexteruga. If they can force you to attack before you can get into better targets, they can just ruin your day. Just remember that. Then we do have Leviamon. Again, checking this out. Let's take a look at Leviamon. Leviamon with Anubis has been a deck for a while, and I love where this person took it. It's a very solid list in general. I have no objections here. Just being able to do Leviamon shenanigans, controlling the board. Again, a lot of decks don't have that double protection that really makes them scary. And with Leviamon being able to, you know, do the partition shenanigans, you're going to be force Imperial Dramon to do their partition shenanigans is always horrible for them, especially if you can get Leviamon X afterwards. They're just at a bad spot. So if you go Leviamon then into Leviamon X, you just clear their board with a 7 lightning as well. So keeping this in mind, your opponent can just have a bad time. Then we have the Magnamon X antibody, yellow vaccine list. No surprise here. This card, go fuck yourself. This card I hate with a bloody passion. This card is so hard to play around if you have taunt decks. I'm surprised nobody maxes this out and this becomes the one of. I know you want to draw consistently, but this is the card. But all in all though, taking a look here, really solid. And then you have the Omnimon deck. No surprise here. Is this? Whoa. 1 Metal Garurumon. That is crazy to me. Why is it at 1? Yeah, 1 and 1, crazy. I know you want to be on these two, but this one should be at least a 2 to 3 of, in my opinion. But all in all, really good solid lists going into this, and nothing really out of the ordinary. Omnimon Ace is just a really good deck. It really struggled against the faster paced decks, but now because the meta has slowed down just by that half a click, this deck actually has a little bit more better standing, and that's important at the end of the day. When you can have a better standing with your deck, the better it's going to perform. Now let's talk about Eagle's Nest events on EX07. This just happened last night, and it's good to take a look at this because this is what you're kind of starting to expect to see. We kind of expect those other decks to still see competitive play coming in this format, but taking a look right now, we have 35 players, 5 rounds of Swiss, which is pretty good for an event. For 5 rounds, that's basically half the event of what you're going to expect. So taking a look here, let's take a look. Purple base. I love when I see things that I would be playing naturally in my list being vindicated. So the Hellugamon, I've always been debating on it, but I love the Mega Gargamon Ace. So if your opponent can pop the Dexteruga and Digivolve into Dexteruga Gray, forcing you to do that, at least then you have an ace shot at this. So I think I want to test out Mega Gargo Ace, to be honest with you. I love the egg count. This is just really what I'm kind of going with my list, and it's a really good smart pick. I love the purple mem boost because, to be honest with you, sometimes you just need that little bit of extra memory to be able to do something. And the wisdom trainings are always solid. But at the end of the day, I might test out this list because this actually hits where I need it to. I don't know if I want to take out the Lugarmons for Psychmon because I'm not as scared to Death X with this version of the deck as I would be with, let's say, the black base. So I would probably, if I'm going to take something out for Psychmon, bring my bad matchup a little bit better. I mean, yeah, Psychmon... I get what Psychmon's in here for, not our matchup. It's for the... I know what they're trying to do with Psychmon. Now I realize it. Let me double check. Is he an animal? I wouldn't be surprised if he... I would be surprised if he's not. Reptile. Data. Rookie. Nope. So he's... Let me double check here. Play 1X antibody or SOC trade. Yeah. So... I don't know how you're playing this card for free, but the whole concept with this card is to slow down the 7th grade Demon Lord matchup, and I think that's really what they're trying to do with it. And it's not a bad call. I think that's a really solid meta pick. Then we do have the Mega Mirage Galga shenanigans with the Galaxy engine. Not surprised here. It's not the loop, which... good. You don't need to waste your energy on the loop when this deck just does what it needs to without having to worry about. I like the Otama tech. Bukomon's a really good egg choice here just to make sure your options are live, and I like Goodnight Moon as a good option as well. I think they picked a really good ace up lineup too, and this is a good stepping stone to for you guys to get an understanding if you guys want to do Mirage with the engine, because Hexablau with all these pieces underneath it can be very scary. So next, though, we're going to take Imperial Dramon with Magnamon's promo and Lydramon. So this now helps answer some of the threats because people are starting to tech Chumon in, and you need Lydramon to answer it, and Magnamon actually helps with a lot of hard-played aces. So this is just really solid value tech here. Then you have Black Base. Black Base doing Black Base shenanigans. There's nothing wrong with this list. Yeah. Final Zubergon Punch to just clear security is always good. Then you have Ancient Greymon. Yeah, I'm surprised there's no Impmon in here with the Yaman. I would expect that to be in here with that just because you can Digivolve on purple in this list. But that's just me. I think the Impmon would have been a better tech. I've seen a lot of lists improvise it because you can Digivolve into the dark. You can use, you know, your dark dragons from your trash, which is value. But here we go. Mother D-Reaper blocker with Shoto. People's biggest fear right now. This deck, if it gets popular, I'm going to be straight honest with you. Any taunt deck can just really make this have a bad day because any of the aces, if they just go into an ace... Oh, God. Okay. We're just playing things for shenanigans, but... it's black base shenanigans. I love it. Definitely a really good solid hybrid engine just so you can get the Edamon to taunt or the Seraphimon here to be able to do it. So all very, very good cards. Very powerful deck. We'll see if this long-term does something, you know? I mean, it's going to. This is early stages, but we'll have to see. Then we do have red, purple Imperial Dramon doing shenanigans. Nothing improved in the list. This is just similar to what we saw at the last major events. So no surprise here. And then Omnimon as well. See, there we go. Metal Garurumon at 2. That's fine, acceptable. But all in all, guys, though, I think taking a look right now, BT17's looking pretty solid here, and I think we have a lot going for it. So guys, what do you think of how the meta's shaping up a little bit? Definitely a lot better and healthier once Numemon finally disappeared out of the meta and people said, oh, it wasn't going to be enough a hit. It definitely was. So guys, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, stay safe, stay healthy, and I'll catch you next one. Peace.